Albert Neal Ward.
And where are you from, Albert?
I grew up in Lenore City area. Most of my life was spent in the Midwest, primarily Illinois.
Okay. So when you say you grew up in Lenore City, is that where you went to high school?
That's where I went to high school.
Okay.
And I went to my pre-med in Knoxville and medical school in Memphis.
Okay, well good. So tell me how you entered the military.
I was drafted. I was a pre-med student, and I wanted to get my doctorate before I went in. I knew I was going, but I preferred to have gone in as a physician, and I missed it.
So when you got that draft notice, where did they tell you to report to?
Fort Oglethorpe.
And did you get there by car or by train or?
Bus.
By bus.
Z-bus.
Okay. And what was that experience like?
Well, they were the old-time buses with the engine out front. Every time he turned the corner, the tires rubbed against the body, so they were pretty bleak looking things.
Yeah. So once you got to Fort Oglethorpe, tell me about what happened after that.
Well, going down the line, and they were asking everyone what branch they wanted, and everyone was saying Navy, and they knew you're in the Army, and I got up there for some reason. I said Navy, and he said you're in the Navy. And then they asked for volunteers to go into the Marines, of course, since the Marines are part of the Navy. So and what year are we talking right now? 1945, I guess.
Okay. So you entered the Navy, and where did you do your boot camp at?
Great Lakes.
Great Lakes.
And then I went to Farragut, Idaho for hospital corps school.
Okay. How long was that school?
That was 4 months.
4 months.
A very enjoyable school.
Okay.
It was just like school. There was no marching or all of the other things that were done there.
And what was Farragut, Idaho? What was their base like? Was it? Well,
it was a typical thrown-up fast Quonset hut type of base. It's no longer there. It's a state park now, but it's such a beautiful country. We've been back out there a few years ago and just enjoyed it so much.
Oh, good. And then after you finished your school in Idaho, where did you go to?
I went to a military hospital, a new hospital in Dublin, Georgia, and that was great duty. It was brand new. We had cubicles and tablecloths and dishes and nut trays, but it didn't last long, 2 months, and I was sent to Shoemaker, California, which everybody knew what that was.
Well, and what was that?
That was well, I was there a long time. I was there 6 weeks. Was waiting for transfer to the Pacific, and finally, about 6 weeks, I was sent to the Philippines. Landed in the bay of
That's okay. But you landed in the Philippines.
I landed in the Philippines at Fleet Hospital 114.
Okay.
And it was a large hospital. I don't know how large it was because we had a lot of patients coming in, and a hospital ship went out almost every day.
And the patients, were they all branches, or were they?
They were Navy and Marines. I don't think there were any Army there.
Okay.
But we, if you remember, the ship Indianapolis was torpedoed, we received about half of those people.
Okay.
So whatever they were, Navy, Marines, Army, we got them.
And what was your job at this hospital?
Well, I started working on one of the wards. It was a surgical ward, but they were short on typists, and they got me because I could type, and I wrote letters to next of kin of patients that
Sure.
come in there. And and the war ended while I was there, and I knew then what Oak Ridge was doing, because it was established before I went into service, and everyone was speculating on what it was. We knew it was a war effort, but didn't know it was making an atomic bomb. So after those two bombs were dropped, the long-term servicemen were going home. They had points, and they got so. Soon I was transferred to Subic Bay, a big base there. The war was over, and everybody was waiting to go home, get your time in, and that was a nice place. We didn't have any troubles then. We were just waiting, and met some nice people, very nice people. In fact, there, one of the fellows was at Pearl Harbor when it was attacked.
Oh, wow.
He had some interesting stories, yes.
I bet. So how did you make it back to the United States?
Well, in June of 1945, I guess, I was boarded a ship there, and there was a rail strike on the West Coast, so we had to go around through the canal, and that was interesting. I hated to spend the time at it, but now that it's over, it was very interesting to see that canal. And then we came to Virginia, Norfolk, and from there I went to Memphis and was discharged very promptly. Got the Tennessean train. I don't know, but you probably don't remember it. It was Southern's top-notch train, streamlined, aluminum, diesel. There weren't many like that. So I got it out one night, and the next morning I was in Lenore City, and my father picked me up, and that was the end of it.
And what was that reunion like with your father?
Pardon?
What was the reunion like with your father after?
Well, it was pretty great.
Yeah.
See, they hadn't heard from me in a month. They didn't, they knew the war was over, so they weren't troubled much. But a month and no correspondence, they were kind of concerned. Of course, we were supposed to go to the West Coast, but that didn't happen. And back to pre-med, and January 1948, I entered medical school, graduated in 1951. I was going to take a residency in radiology, but I had to wait a year, and nobody wants a doctor for a year except K-25 over here. They said, well, we'll take you. We need doctors badly. And while I was there, we had a consultant who was professor of occupational medicine at the University of Pittsburgh, and I was intrigued with it, particularly him. He was a great teacher, so he convinced me to come to Pittsburgh and get my residency in occupational medicine, and then I came back to Paducah plant for about 15 years. It was a gaseous diffusion plant, just like K-25, only it was a lot newer and nicer and younger employees. Because during the war, you know, they took what was moving. So that was, and I spent a year on the Nevada test site, which was exciting, where nobody knew what they were doing.
And when you say the Nevada test site, is that Area 51?
That's where Area 51 was. It was adjacent, but not in it.
Got it.
So we didn't get them mixed up much. And now I didn't say Area 51 has been cleared for. In fact, there's a book, Area 51. So I'm not giving away any secrets.
No, and I know that, and I'm not asking you to. So how old are you today?
90.
90 years old. Served in World War II. And how does it feel today to know that you served with the greatest generation?
Well, it was an interesting time to live. I wouldn't want to go through it again, but it was. A lot of turmoil on the test site. Nobody knew what they were doing. We had releases, and people got radiated, and I was included in that. That's why I got the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I have never sought any care on that because my insurance covered all of it, and I had to get treatment started before they had time to go through all of my radiation records.
Sure.
But I've been in remission for about 15 years now.
Wow, that's
so
wonderful.
I probably will not come back.
Well, that's wonderful, to be in remission. Well, Albert, it was wonderful to talk to you today, and we're very proud of your service, and we thank you for doing this interview.
Well, thank you for recognizing it, and I don't have too many more years in this world. But, who knows? There's a 100-year-old man at Asbury.
Yep. So, well, thank you again.
You're welcome.